What is going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo. I am here live from E3 2015 in Los Angeles. It has been a crazy awesome show thus far. Yesterday was insanely busy. I played about 10 games and almost all of them were way better than I expected. But the coolest thing that has happened yet is that I got to try out Microsoft's Hololens in conjunction with Halo 5. I had no idea that this was going to happen, but it is an experience unlike anything I have ever seen, and it almost was so futuristically weird, it felt half surreal. So I'm going to describe it for you. Unfortunately, it was impossible for me to record this as it was happening in a visor in front of my face, but I'll run down exactly what went down and how freaking cool it could be, would be, will be whenever that technology is ready for public consumption. Now, it definitely, I think, is far off. I know VR is kind of the big fad, but this HoloLens stuff to me feels much more out there and possibly cooler than some of the stuff that Oculus and whatnot are doing. Remember, HoloLens is more augmented reality. You saw it probably in the Microsoft press conference with the Minecraft table where the person was like pulling, pinching, raising the Minecraft town in sort of 3D space through their goggles. But HoloLens is more of a visor than it is goggles. So we entered this Halo spaceship type area and they measured our eyes. I had no idea what was going on, and then we walked into like this space pod loading room and they sat us all down, and one by one they had us don these HoloLenses and they set them to our appropriate specifications. It's a pretty big device, not that heavy, but it has a band that goes around like a halo, and then also more of a vertical band that can be adjusted to sit on your head properly. I had to do a lot of adjusting. I don't know if it was the hair or just the way it was default set up or what, but once I got it, there's a little scroll wheel in the back that you use to tighten against the base of your skull. Luckily, it's not like injecting a needle into the base of your skull, no Matrix type stuff yet, but once it's on, then you're viewing this lens, and I guess it's about, I don't know, very close to your eyes, but not touching them. It didn't feel like it was uncomfortably close, no eye strain. The only pain I experienced was from the thing on my head being a little heavy and probably not in the perfect spot, but I'm sure that's not really a fault of the device, more a fault of the setup and the time constraint. But once I put it on, they had me look forward and see if I could see 4 dots on the screen. And I was like, yes, I can see all 4 at the same time. This is pretty pedestrian, not the biggest of deal. Then it got really cool. They had us stand up and walk through one of the hallways of this spaceship, mock spaceship. And from there, it got insanely futuristic, Star Wars-esque, and really unlike anything I've ever seen. There was a waypoint in front of me, like a Halo waypoint, and it wasn't really there. It was just in the HoloLens, but it looked like it was like there was depth. I could walk around it. It was in 3D space, and so I walked there, and it sensed once I reached there, it activated the next waypoint, and so I was turning down these halls. I got to a window, which wasn't really a window, and it opened up, and I looked into the hangar where all the spaceships were getting like powered up and getting ready to take off, which none of this was really happening, of course. This is just all in the HoloLens. And I don't believe it was being activated by any specific surface. I think it was just being activated merely through the calibration of HoloLens. And of course, this setup is so insanely complex. I have no idea how you would ever set this up at your home or how this would work. The Minecraft thing makes sense because it's like, oh, there's a table and you could just like sort of key in on a surface and like set the parameters and maybe do it that way. But this being positionally structured, madness. Then after that, we walked up to this table. There's nothing on the table. But through the HoloLens, it looked like a holographic Spartan rose out of the table and started giving us a briefing on Halo 5 Warzones. I'll be uploading that footage. Freaking incredible game mode. I've kind of worn out my welcome with Halo. Warzones might be my favorite thing I've seen in E3 thus far. That mode, which mixes PvE with PvP, it's like if Titanfall did things really the best way. I think I'm going to be playing so much of that mode. It felt perfect for me. The way that you upgrade and level up within the match, the way that you fight these NPCs who are more like bosses and little mini-mobs, so smart. Plus battling against the other players, genius mode, but we'll get to that a different day. The Spartan is talking to us, and it's all there, but not. Like, you could wave your arms in front, and it's clearly not there, but when you're looking at it, you could circle the table, and the perspective would shift, so it's not locked in like, hey, it's a flat thing, and as I move, it stays flat. Like, if I shift this way or rotate this way, it would rotate, and I would see the different sides of the Spartan talking, this holographic Spartan. Think like Princess Leia at the beginning of episode 4, or any other sort of holographic thing you've seen. Now, from there, a map appeared. She started like highlighting different parts of the map, letting us know where the bosses would spawn in the war zones, zooming in on different sections, naming the sections, rotating the map. It was so dynamic and so crazy. And the whole time you're just standing there with the visor on. And it did get a little uncomfortable, but again, I think that might have been the setup. It wasn't eye strain, it was more just like I had to hold my head in a perfect way so that I could see it all, because there is obviously a limit to the height and the width of the HoloLens. If the HoloLens is below your perfect straight on line of sight, you don't see the full thing. So I could cut off her legs basically by the way I lifted and you know, tilted my head, which I don't know, I guess that takes you out of the immersion, but there's no way I can see for these things to work without that being a possible problem until they find out some way to do non-goggle-based holographic 3D magic. For now, that's what we'll have to deal with. But it was crazy cool, and as she was going around the map, and like I said, like pointing out, okay, here's where the weapon caches are, here's where the bosses are going to appear, here's what's going to drop down, and then like zooming in on certain areas, and you could see all the undulation of the map. Very 3D. It was not flat at all. It was not flat this way, this way. It was all like holographically projected, as you would expect from something in a Halo game or in some crazy futuristic Star Trek, Star Wars space movie. And there it was in front of me. From there, after she gave her little demo, and it looks really good too. It was a little bit wireframey, but much better than I expected. It wasn't like some really low-res, crappy-looking model of a Spartan, crappy-looking of a map. It wasn't hyper detailed, but there was definitely different colors, and it definitely looked pretty good. That didn't take me out of the immersion whatsoever. After she went through her kind of mode explanation, map explanation, it said like that you need to take this memory chip out and take it with you, which ended up being a flash drive that I'm sure has like video and pictures and Halo stuff on it. But the cool part was she like was holding this spark. And so she's like, here, I'm going to give you this spark and you're going to take it, blah, blah, blah. And she's holding it, and then as she's holding it, it slowly starts flying towards you and lands on the console right below the table. And then you look down and it says, please remove, and out popped a memory chip that then you grab. I felt like I was in the future. It sold me a lot on that technology. I don't know that VR or AR is still for me. I still kind of like the idea of being in the real world with my own eyes and my own like spatial awareness, but this was insanely cool because it offered a look into what felt like the eventual future. And I don't know if this comes in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but at some point this kind of stuff will exist. And what I really liked was we didn't play the game Halo 5 within the visor, the HoloLens. We took that off and went and played Halo 5 on Xbox One, and that was great and normal. But this gave an experiential, just one-of-a-kind moment that kind of captured an impossible dream, an impossible reality, and I think maybe that is where this thing will shine. Not so much in like, hey, now you can play a game with this HoloLens and pinch pull and, you know, tickle your enemies, but maybe more in the sense of like, hey, you can experience things, other planets, other worlds, you know, unique, crazy dreamscapes, or maybe events that you never... Like, for example, it reminded me of sort of that Tupac hologram from a couple years back, if you recall that, where it was like he was giving a performance, but he wasn't really there. So imagine if, like, you couldn't afford to go see Taylor Swift perform, but so you got a HoloLens concert. That doesn't make sense because this thing will probably be super expensive as well. But, like, that kind of a, like, implementation, right? Or you could go and virtually visit your family or virtually go to Disney World or a lot of things. It kind of gets a little bit scary in the sense of like what is real and what's not at that point for our future as humans, and how is that all going to merge and mesh. And holy crap, we could watch, you know, the president be assassinated and yet he really didn't. It was just, you know, a holographic projection fakery thing, but now it's on the news and all over Twitter, and what's the world coming to? But for me, trying to be a positive and imagining the best case scenario, it was super cool. I felt like I was some space age neo-pirate freakazoid robot cyborg, and I would do it again just because it was like that one-of-a-kind type moment, and I wish everybody could have it. But the HoloLens is real. It really freaking works. It was super cool, and I definitely want to see where they go with this. I think now that AR type stuff is definitely above VR type stuff for me, just because I think it has more of a... It makes more sense given what we already can do. We can already play games, we can already use controllers and see awesome, sweet curved TVs in 4K. So let's use these new pieces of technology to advance what we experience to a different level. And I know that Oculus does that to an extent, but this was madness. It was magical madness, and I'm so glad that I got to experience it. Hopefully I conveyed a little bit of the excitement to you guys. If it doesn't make perfect sense, I'm sorry I don't have footage, but I just really wanted to share what was the most exciting thing I've seen at E3 thus far. Been a great show. I'll be bringing you more content. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. Drink so much. Until next time, don't be a hologram. Be a great person and have an awesome day. And we will see you all later.